Ready to go? I'd like to call order the Town of Delafield Board of Supervisor meetings for Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Green, if you'll please take the roll call.
Supervisors Mahoney Ogden.
Present.
Miller.
Here.
Michaels.
Present.
Chairman Kranek.
Present.
Thank you.
Citizens' comments. Anybody in the audience would like to make any comments, please come. You're limited to 3 minutes. No citizens would like to make citizens' comments. Next item, item 5, approval of the minutes from the November 28th, 2023 Town Board.
Motion to approve the minutes from November 28th.
A second.
Motion is second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is actions on vouchers submitted for payment, reports on budget sub-accounts, and actions to amend the 2023 budget. There are none, so I would look for a motion to approve accounts payable and payroll.
I would motion, oh, go ahead.
I motion to approve payments of checks 67159 to 67190, 1,119. Checks 2023 in the amount of $1,872.65.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Motion is second to approve accounts payable and payroll. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, communications. There are none. Unfinished business. There is none. Next item would be discussion of possible action on the list of election inspectors for the 2024-25 election inspector or election cycle. Turn this over to Administrator Clerk Treasurer Green to just provide a synopsis of what we're doing and why we do this.
Sure. So every 2 years, the Republican and Democratic parties send their list of poll workers for us to incorporate. They get first choice in being selected for whatever location that they serve. And then we are required by state law to also approve the full list of poll workers for the election cycle. Election cycles work in 2-year periods, so that they're odd or even and odd years, so the 4 and then 2-year election cycle. So this would be approving the list of poll workers we have as of the end of November for 24 and 25 election cycle. And I just recommend a motion to approve.
Was duplicates, that just,
Yeah, there might be some. We have that's our full list of spreadsheets, and then from that we break out into each polling location. So there might be some duplicates, but there might be some in there that we haven't used in a year or two as well, but they tend to come back for November for presidential elections. So that's our,
I saw a few names in there multiple times. So just
Sure.
okay.
So I'd look for a motion to approve the election inspectors for the next 2 years.
A second.
Motion is second to approve the election inspectors as presented. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, item B, discussion of possible action on the capital improvement schedule and purchase of a wheel loader for the highway department. I don't know if Dan or Don want to start.
yeah, I'll start and then I'll hand it over to Don. Let me just pull it up here real quick. So I provided a new quote from John Deere, which Don received this morning. This quote, there's 2 quotes. One's for $199,000 and one's for $212,000. The $212,000 loader is compatible to the Volvo loader that I had in the report. This one, however, comes with snow tires outfitted.
Which one? The John, say it, back up a little
The
bit.
both John Deere quotes come with those snow tires. The one that I had in the report did not, so there would have been an
6,000
additional
extra,
6,000,
okay.
correct. So the John Deere, if you're looking at apples to apples, you're looking at about $2,000 in savings by going with the John Deere over the Volvo. The Volvo also had some hours already on it. The John Deere is brand new, from what I understand. So it would make more sense to go to the John Deere. I just didn't have the quote until this morning, so. But essentially what we're looking at is using ARPA funds to pay for the cost of a loader. We've been having a lot of trouble getting trucks in the past 2 years. We have one that's being worked on at Burke, and the other truck, international truck, is on order. But we keep seeing delays. I think it's been, 6 months in delays, and they keep pushing it back. So the thought was to keep that truck on order and use a loader. Loaders work great as plow trucks as well. A lot of communities use them as plows. They have top speeds of 27 miles an hour. We have a plow that already will fit the loader. And essentially keep the international on order, and if it comes in 6 months, great. And then I would suggest that we use general fund reserves to pay for the additional costs that the rest of our ARPA funds don't cover, and that would roughly be about $95,000 in funds. Our reserve fund balance has built up about $400,000 over the past 3 years, so we would have the funds to be able to purchase it. And you can see from the schedule of the replacement schedule, we'd have about 4 years of a break where we wouldn't have any large capital investments. The next truck replacement would be 2028 or 2029, depending. And that truck would most likely last through 2029 because it would be for the part-time plow drivers, because it would cycle out of rotation. So, and then there's some monies we would get from selling old equipment as well. I have an estimated revenue of $30,000 between the two plow trucks. I don't know what those will come in at. It's all relative on the demand. Right now the demand is really high. So that all depends on the timing of when we get it listed and when the international truck comes in. And Don is here for any questions as well.
Ian, can you walk me through the the ARPA account, the 337 is what we have in there? I guess, why do we need to go to reserves? This is 212. I know you wrote it. I wasn't fully tracking.
So we have about $72,000 of that still has yet to be paid to Burke for the truck that we're being outfitted now.
Okay, so that gives us, I was just doing the math, still more than 212,000, right?
Right, so the 212 we can buy the loader without using any reserves. So this would be if the international chassis comes, then we would also purchase the international chassis.
Okay.
Truck on order that's being delayed because of parts, the difference between what we have in ARPA and the cost of that truck is why we would have to dip into the reserves if we want to keep that truck.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And if we go into reserves, I guess that was just, I've got, a couple little questions. I'll save my product ones for later. But when do we, how bad do we, I guess, if we end up having to go into the reserve, then what? If we don't, what emergencies have come up in the past that we may wish, we wish we hadn't have done that, we really need this? Have there been other ones in the past that we would have needed to use it if we end up having to go into it?
Well, our reserves are going to be around 1.7 million by the end of this year.
And then after we buy, then the chassis comes in and we buy it, and how much is left?
1.6 or just over 1.6. So if there's an emergency, I don't know that the 95,000 is going to be a big effect. I mean, in 2020 we had 1.25 million in reserves. So, and what we typically have done in the past is we build those capital reserves so that we can buy equipment. And we've been lucky that in the past 3 years we've had ARPA funds to make most of our equipment purchases. Now we're kind of seeing the end of ARPA, and now we have to make the purchases ourselves with our own dollars. So,
But besides equipment, what else have we used emergency funds for? I mean, give me an example of.
Since I've been here, I don't think we've used emergency funds or anything. We usually can cover it in the budget. So, and we still have replacement funds. We have $200,000 in reserve for this building in case something goes wrong, even though we obviously are covered by insurance. And I think that's it as far as just outside restricted funds. But beyond that, yeah, 1.6 is still a pretty healthy fund balance, and you will have 4 years to continue to grow it because we won't have large purchases beyond that. Ed, I don't know if you can remember any time we used.
No, we haven't really ever really used the reserve funds. I mean, the only time we did it was early on to do some negative, budgets early
Sure.
on. But we got a very healthy reserve balance at, 38%. And, as Dan mentioned, we were very fortunate with ARPA. And, this would really make our fleet and our DPW fleet pretty modern and up to date. And we wouldn't have to purchase a new truck for a while, and we could save for future purchases. So I got some questions for Don, though, if you
Yeah,
wouldn't
and
mind.
I've got some other ones too, so yeah, go ahead.
Might step into the podium and. Can you explain why you would prefer a loader versus a plow truck, just to help us understand how much more beneficial, or how the loaders are working out better for the fleet, or how you envision them being used in the future?
Yeah, last year was pretty much the first year we had a brand-new loader, and we outfitted it with a plow. We couldn't use it all the time because we have to load our trucks, and it's multi-purpose. But when we were able to take it out and use it, we probably saved an hour and a half on our routes. So I could do all my route, my cleanup, and clean up on the other routes before everybody was done and everything. But the only issue was with the loader is salting. We don't have a salter on the back, so we had to go back and salt. But I found a place that's going to mount a salter for me. I found a salter and everything, so if we do get one, we can actually put a salter on the back. So nobody has them around, but there's a lot of places that have loaders now for cleanup and plowing, because they're just a lot faster and more efficient, especially with the cul-de-sacs, as many cul-de-sacs as we have. That's where we save a lot of time, is the cleanup with those and everything. So they're just way more efficient than the plow trucks are right now. So that's why once we can get a salter on the back, I think they'll start replacing the trucks, at least in our area. I mean, they're slower speed, so you're never gonna see them on the freeway, but subdivisions, we're not plowing more than 15, 20 miles an hour anyway, so.
That was my question. I talked to Ed about it already too, so yeah. And, go ahead, give me that.
So would the preference would be to go with the John Deere? Is the John Deere comparable with the
That
Volvo,
one
or?
just came in, so he just came in this week.
Okay.
I talked to John Deere. Case was originally the only one, then Volvo came in 2 weeks ago. They had one, so then John Deere came to me earlier this week, and he was able to have those two. Other than that, nobody's had any new, so John Deere wasn't even a thought until they just popped up, and he stopped in and everything and mentioned, he's like, I got one in stock, so, yeah, I mean, they're all nice.
Do you service, or who services any of these? Do we do that in-house, or do we
We
take
do
it-
everything in-house. I mean, this one, long as the warranty's on there, they'll come out and service it for free for the warranty work, but then once the warranty's out, we do all in-house work, unless we can't do it, but we've been able to handle pretty much everything in-house, transmissions, engines, and everything, so we rarely take anything out to get serviced.
I mean, my gut feeling is John Deere parts, I mean, in the future anyhow, would be less expensive than a Volvo. I mean,
No,
parts, just, is that
they're
not-
they're all expensive. John Deere has definitely got a good reputation of getting parts a lot quicker from other manufacturers I've talked to with Volvo. Sometimes they say it takes a while to get parts for the Volvo and other things, where John Deere, they're so big and they're close. Iowa's their main plant. It's like they've got parts ready,
Right.
available within a day. They said you can get parts. So, I mean, as far as price-wise, you don't save anything, but as far as availability, they can get to us a lot quicker with the John Deere.
That's nice.
So Dan, we would just be looking to take action on the loader at this point. We don't have to take action on the
Yeah,
chassis,
and I was
correct?
gonna mention, if we need some time to think about it or figure out where the budget is, when we find out when the international comes in, then we can make that decision. But for now, I guess the request is to approve the loader. But if the board was dead set against purchasing both, then I think Don might want to consider then just waiting. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I would I mean, if it's one or the other, I would take the truck right now just because of the Salter on the back of the loader. I'm gonna be the first one that I know of around here that is putting a Salter on the back, so it's gonna be new. I think it's gonna work great, but not a guarantee, so I would rather stick with the truck if I had to choose one or the other.
You mean, you gotta, so you mean the John Deere or the chassis that's still being built?
Yes,
The John,
correct.
the one that's right now, that's what you'd
Correct.
rather have than,
Yes.
The one
so
that's
yeah,
being built.
The one that's being built or the John Deere. If I had to choose between one or the other in the next year, I would choose the truck for now.
Yeah, so if the board is.
truck is the John Deere, that's all I'm just,
Truck
the
is
truck is the chassis, is
international.
the one that's still
Yep,
being
the
built.
one that's not here yet. and
The one
being
that's
built
not here
for
yet, okay, okay.
Ever, yes.
Yeah, so if the board is opposed to purchasing the loader and then waiting on the truck, we need to let Don know, because he would prefer to get the truck. But I think it makes sense financially. I think we could afford it. I think it's, the chassis was gonna hold its value, and, I think the loader is gonna help be more efficient in plowing the roads and getting the routes done, because that's what we're here to do, is maintain the roads and make sure the snow gets plowed and salted, so.
What's our time horizon on the ARPA funds? Is it 2020?
We have to have them designated by 24 and spent by 26.
Our last tranche.
Yeah, this will drain it.
$12 months to decide if this isn't it.
The other thing to consider is just the costs keep going up and up and up. So, I mean, if we buy a truck in 25, which is technically where that truck is on the replacement schedule, that truck might be even $20,000 more than 2024.
I can tell you when the costs go down, when everyone's out of ARPA money.
That's very true.
Are there other things that you or the team have considered for, I mean, this is our last shot with the ARPA money. We've had a nice couple years tackling some of these things. Are there other things in the back of your mind that you would have traded if it isn't this?
I guess I always imagined with the amount of funds we got that the best use for it would be capital equipment. You don't want to do anything with operating, because then you have that expense long-term.
We've consistently agreed, yeah, we agree.
And the only other thing I considered was maybe upgrading some of the servers, but our server was brand new, I think, when I got here, so it's still, only 4 years old. We probably still have a few more years, and that would be a minor purchase anyway. You're talking about maybe 10 grand for that, so I think that's something we can just handle in the regular budget. So no, I think it'd be the best use for it.
The promise of being done with the fleet until 2028 is appealing, right? Feels like we'd have it just really handled, and I think it's been a responsible way to use the ARPA money to, as you say, do capital so we don't have ongoing costs we're struggling to cover, and then the town gets a break for several years because we've invested with it.
I think you'll see that general fund will build itself up very quickly in the next few years.
And there's not, I would go similarly, there's just nothing else that we would think, a few months from now, oh, yeah, we really should have, we could have used it, or something that'd be my only other thing. But I'd look
Unless
for
the
you on.
police department crashes our squad, but I think. No, I can't see. These are the most expensive things we have in the town besides buildings is the equipment that these guys use. Otherwise, everything else is manageable within the budget.
And then if you didn't have it, you just would make do and wait for the other one.
Correct.
And the salt thing that he's gonna put on, that price, is that on this new piece of paper we got, or is that
No, they've got equipment budgets that they can
for
purchase
accessory
that.
items?
It's
You would,
it's like $2,800.
okay.
He's got money in his budget that he can take care of that. I think the big thing, though, is that this would be replacing a 99 Sterling plow truck, and to Supervisor Michael's point, this would, buy us, really get our replacement schedule up to date, and, we wouldn't have to hopefully replace a truck for another, 4 or 5 years.
Have we ever looked at getting better buying power? Because I mean, in looking at what we have, I see there's actually kind of little sampling of brands of lots of different things. And I suppose they all offer different services that we don't just go buy from now on, no, we're going to try to buy all John Deere, or that John Deere doesn't make some of the things you need.
Well, you see a lot of
Like in
different
Fort-
ones. We used to just buy used, so we would just go to Pewaukee and buy their used trucks
Mm-hmm.
and everything, and that's what we've been doing for quite a few years. Until recently, we bought our, I think, 2010,
Like 19,
and then 2019 were our first and only new trucks that we've had. So we've been buying used. Problem is all our Sterlings right now, they haven't made Sterlings in probably 10 years or longer. So, right now we can get parts, but they don't make them. They haven't made them. So down the line, it's going to be harder and harder to get the parts for the Sterling truck and everything. And like I said, used, the Pewaukee sold nice stuff and everything. They sell them after 10 years. We try and get 25 out of ours. So. But, with the used, it came with the cost of, our repair budget was a lot more, and then we definitely had more downtime than normal with, the repair stuff, but it worked for us.
Well, but unfortunately, the used market got impacted by COVID and the pandemic, and
Yes.
those used
They're-
trucks, the prices
Used
of
trucks are
those
no
went-
longer cheap. I mean,
Right.
the last was a few years ago, I think it was almost $100,000 for a used truck already, so, yeah. And the loader is cheaper than, in the end, I think the loader is gonna be a lot cheaper than a truck to begin with. I mean, our trucks are getting quite expensive now and everything, so I think the loader actually saves several $1,000s just going with a loader versus a truck and the setup of them.
And that's not through Airing. The John Deere is obviously just through John
No,
Deere.
it's through Brooks.
It's through Brooks, okay,
Yeah.
the new one.
It's brand new. The Airing, the Volvo, was it sitting down in Illinois, big company down there, had 100 of them sitting on their thing because they did snow removal down in Chicago, and they just brought it up because it just sat there and never got used. So it's technically a used machine with really no hours on it.
Was that the one? I know, I looked online, there was one that was 18 hours, and the other one was 127 hours. I think it was the 18-hour one, right?
Yeah,
Is that
it
the one
has
that you're
very
looking
low
at?
hours, the Volvo one. It sat there. It's pretty new, but I don't think they can sell it as new because
And there isn't any other, since this is the first I've looked at this one, there isn't any other details of this between the two that, besides obviously the John Deere is a little better price, but is the product-wise what it offers and does?
they all do the same. I think our warranty's better being brand new. I think we get a better warranty and everything with the John Deere versus the Volvo being used. I think the John Deere is a better warranty. But other than that, they both work the same, operate the same, do the same.
Yeah, we looked at, the horsepower, it was similar, the size of the machine, the size of the cabin, the extension and the length of the bucket and all of that, and it was pretty much spot on comparable to the Volvo, so, they're all like that. Chase makes the same version as Cat.
We had a price from Case. Case does have a new machine, but they were 240 or 250,000 for their machine, so they're quite a bit higher. Didn't include them.
And as far as municipal discounts, Don, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are kind of starting to dwindle away, aren't they?
Yeah, we used to see a big discount on a lot of things, but they're starting to not give the municipal discount just because supply and demand isn't there, so,
Everyone has ARPA money.
yeah. So, yeah, it's dwindling fast for our discount that we get on vehicles especially.
Well, as far as using reserves or not goes, essentially we have to make a decision within the next 12 months how we use this remaining $337,000. So I don't think, it doesn't get better for us to wait and save the money somehow, because we have to decide at some point anyway. And I think your point's correct, that we don't actually have to decide or make a motion today to use those reserves, right? That decision can be made, or how it's funded is ultimately decided when the international plow truck comes in. Is that correct?
Yeah, it kind of. Like Don said, if it's going to be one or the other, he'd rather just wait for the international if he knows that there's no way that the board's gonna approve it. If the board, you know, thinks, yeah, that's a good use of funds, I mean, yes, you don't have to decide right now.
The action
but
isn't taken today, but the consequence is there, right? Yeah.
We can give, it doesn't have to be in the motion, but if we can just get a general feel from the board, if that's something that we'd be willing to do, I think that would, satisfy at least Don's request for the loader. And just keep in mind, like Ed said, we're driving a 99 Sterling, that's 25-year-old truck, so, this would replace that and give a little bit of peace of mind for the guys too, but.
I'd look for a motion if anybody's got a motion.
I would motion to, do you want me to motion the specific truck we'd like you to buy, or do you want us to leave that to you?
I would specify just the John Deere 544P, if that's,
I would motion to approve the purchase of the John Deere 544P as quoted to the board in a cost not to exceed $212,000 using ARPA account for the purchase.
I second.
Motion is second to approve the purchase of the John Deere using ARPA funds. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, closed session. The basis of the items to be discussed in closed session are enumerated in section 19851C of the Wisconsin State Statutes. C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, more specifically retirement contribution for a highway employee. In addition to the above item being discussed, an additional item to be discussed in closed session is as enumerated in section 19851 paren E of the Wisconsin State Statutes. E, deliberating and negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. More specifically, Lake Country Fire and Rescue intermunicipal agreement changes regarding funding. I look for a motion to enter closed session and then a roll call vote on that.
I motion to enter closed session.
Second.
Motion is second to enter into closed session. Administrator Galena, if you call the roll call, please.
Supervisor Mahoney Ogden,
Present?
Supervisor Miller,
Present.
Supervisor Michaels.
Aye.
Chairman Kranek.
Aye.
We are in closed session. Yeah, we talked about it. We talked about it. I haven't talked to Ed about it, but if we don't have any new items, we were discussing possibly canceling that meeting if nothing new comes up. So, since it's around the holidays, but sure.
I was just, okay, I was planning to be back on the 16th, which usually I'm not, so I just was, from a scheduling thing, trying to figure out, okay. So we're still a maybe on the.
Always a puzzle, isn't it?
Right now, I don't have anything crucial, so as long as nothing crucial comes up in the next 2 weeks, I wouldn't have any issue with it. But
Okay.
What's your gut feeling, Ed?
I mean, if we have something, it won't be groundbreaking.
it can wait.
It can wait. And even if you have to miss, we wouldn't put anything important on. I would imagine the chairman would agree to that. Motion to adjourn.
A second.
Adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.